done.
Wendy's is slimming down,
Where's the beef?
announcing plans to close hundreds of locations through next year as Americans tighten the belt financially.
Take Burger King, Lord, not Wendy's, not Wendy's.
It's the latest sign of a dining dip across casual and fast food chains. Chipotle says 100K or less earners and Gen Z diners are eating out less. The CEO telling investors on the company's earnings call this group is facing several headwinds, including unemployment, increased student loan repayment, and slower real wage growth. From burgers and burritos to a salad slowdown, Sweetgreen is also warning about a younger customer pullback.
You're seeing some pressure. We've heard it from Chipotle recently, from Sweetgreen, and from some others that really serve that Gen Z customer, and seeing a little bit of a drop-off in sales.
America's love affair with fast food used to feel unbreakable. It was the backup plan on busy nights, the treat after a long week, the first job for teenagers, and a reliable answer when you didn't have the time, money, or energy to cook. For decades, the biggest chains didn't just sell burgers and fries. They sold convenience, routine, and a kind of comfort you could find in any town off any highway. But that whole setup is starting to crack in a way you can actually see now. The signs are everywhere. Prices that no longer match the portion, drive-through lines that aren't what they used to be, empty dining rooms where families once packed booths, and franchise owners quietly backing away from deals that used to be money. Machines. What used to feel like a cheap, guaranteed meal is starting to feel like a risky purchase. And in 2026, that shift is no longer subtle, that a big part of it is inflation, sure, but it's bigger than that. It's wages not keeping pace. It's rent, fuel, groceries, and basic bills swallowing paychecks before anyone even thinks about a combo meal. It's also a kind of fatigue. People are tired of being charged premium prices for food that still feels like fast food. The value promise that built these brands is breaking, and once that trust goes, it's hard to get back. What makes this moment different from previous rough years is the scale. It's not one chain struggling. It's multiple giants all taking hits at the same time for the same reasons. Higher costs, weaker traffic, and customers changing their habits. People are cooking more at home, grabbing cheaper grocery store alternatives, splitting meals, skipping the add-ons, or just cutting restaurant spending completely. Even when they do go out, they're pickier. If they're paying close to sit-down prices, they want sit-down quality, cleaner spaces, and service that doesn't feel like a gamble. And then there's the pressure inside the businesses themselves. Franchise operators are often the ones taking the hit first. They're squeezed between corporate requirements and local realities. Higher labor costs, rising supply prices, expensive tech upgrades, delivery app fees, and customers who are more price-sensitive than ever. When the numbers stop working, the open another location dream turns into how do I get out of this without losing everything? That's why you're seeing a wave of closures that feel sudden but really aren't. For a lot of brands, the damage has been building for years. Now it's just showing up on the street. Dark windows, faded signs, renovations, notices that never end, and locations that quietly vanish without a big announcement. Take the classic late-night diner experience. For a long time, it wasn't fancy, it didn't need to be. It was a place that stayed open when everything else shut down. It was coffee refills, breakfast plates, and a booth you could sit in for hours. But the math behind 24-hour dining is brutal now. Staffing shortages make overnight shifts hard to fill, wages are higher, and keeping a large space running through the night costs real money. At the same time, the late-night crowd isn't spending like it used to, and a lot of people simply aren't out the way they were before. When a diner built on always open starts closing early, it's not just a schedule change, it's the end of an identity. You can see a similar story in celebrity-fueled fast casual brands that once looked unstoppable. A famous name can spark curiosity, but it can't fix pricing. When a family meal starts pushing into the kind of total that makes people pause, pull out their phone, and compare options, the celebrity glow doesn't matter. And when traffic drops hard, the weak spots show up fast. Franchise disputes, brand promises that don't match real support, expansion plans that quietly disappear, and stores that shift into delivery-only survival mode. The shine doesn't just fade, it turns into a reminder that fame isn't the same thing as value. Then you've got the healthy fast food wave, which had a real moment. The pitch sounded perfect: quick, clean meals, affordable prices, and drive-through convenience without the guilt. For a while, it felt like the future. But rapid expansion can be a trap, especially when ingredient costs jump and logistics start breaking. Fresh food businesses don't have the same cushion as deep fry operations. When produce prices surge, when supply chains wobble, when staffing turnover is constant, the promise of fresh and cheap becomes nearly impossible to maintain. And once customers start seeing the same bowl that used to feel like a bargain climb into double digits, the brand loses the one thing that made it feel special. If you're still reading this far, you're probably noticing the bigger pattern. It's not that Americans suddenly stopped liking fast food. It's that fast food stopped being the deal people built their routines around. Quick pause, because if you like breakdowns like this, the real reasons brands rise, fall, and change, make sure you subscribe. It helps the channel a lot, and it means you won't miss the next one, especially as more chains start making big moves through 2026. And now, let's talk about the collapses that feel the most dramatic, the ones where you can almost track the downfall just by driving through certain towns. Some brands didn't just lose customers, they lost stability. The kind of comfort food chains that used to feel like home cooking in a box are a perfect example. When management starts missing rent, suppliers stop delivering, staff complain about not being paid on time, and locations get stuck in that weird temporarily closed limbo, the public sees it instantly. It becomes less like a restaurant and more like a warning sign. You're not just losing diners at that point, you're losing trust from landlords, workers, suppliers, and the community. Once that happens, it's hard to restart the engine. On the cheaper end of the spectrum, value pizza chains used to be a safety net. They were the "we're low on cash, but we can still feed everyone" option. That only works when the price truly feels low and when the product stays consistent. The moment the famous deal inches up, and the quality starts slipping, longer waits, understaffed stores, pizzas that aren't ready when promised, customers don't just complain. They leave. And they don't always come back, because grocery stores now offer decent frozen options at prices that feel more predictable. When people can feed a family for less by using an oven at home, the value chain loses its strongest argument. The same squeeze is happening in brands that built their identity on late-night chaos and cheap fun. Those places thrived on being the go-to after midnight, the stop for students, night shift workers, and anyone chasing that specific kind of "it's late, but we're alive" feeling. But if late-night traffic collapses, that's not just fewer sales. That's the collapse of the brand's core purpose. Add in rising crime in some areas, reduced 24-hour operations, and higher prices across the menu, and you end up with chains that feel confused. They're trying to compete on breakfast, burgers, chicken, tacos, delivery, and value all at once. And in doing so, they stop feeling like anything at all. Even the nostalgic dessert chains aren't safe. For generations, a soft-serve cone or a blended ice cream treat was a small joy that didn't break the bank. But when household budgets get tight, small joy becomes optional. When prices climb, traffic drops, and corporate upgrades cost more than some franchise owners can handle, closures start hitting the small towns first. And in a rural area, losing a place like that isn't just losing dessert. It's losing a piece of the town's routine. The after-school stop, the summer hangout, the place where people ran into neighbors. That kind of closure feels personal, which is why it hits so hard. Then there's the fried chicken battlefield, which has turned into one of the clearest examples of how fast hype can die. Viral moments can push sales for a while, but they can also mask deeper problems. If the brand leans too hard on limited-time offers and marketing stunts instead of keeping everyday value strong, people burn out. Once customers feel like they're always being sold something special, but rarely getting a good deal, loyalty weakens. At the same time, chicken, oil, and labor costs are brutal. When combo meals start approaching the price of a sit-down restaurant, customers start asking an uncomfortable question: why am I paying this much to eat in my car? The pizza giants are dealing with their own identity crisis. Some of them were built on dine-in memories, red boots, family nights, birthday celebrations, and the feeling that going out for pizza was an event. But America's eating habits changed, and delivery-first competitors got sharper, faster, and more app-driven. When a chain still carries the cost of a dine-in model, while customers increasingly want cheap delivery, the business gets dragged in two directions. Add delivery fees and higher menu prices, and suddenly pizza night doesn't feel fun. It feels expensive.